just like that. We're already live.
Are we really already live?
Yeah,
are you playing tricks?
No, seriously, we're live. Am I playing tricks? Oh my word. Oh, so, and then my website goes live. Oh my word. All sorts of crazy business going on. So.
Someone named Adam R.T. Smith.
I know, my friend Adam, he's connecting. I don't know if he can just connect via audio. This is the fun, crazy thing about these things. So I don't know how I can, hide non-video participants. I'm hiding them. Okay. I've always had these like heart attacks before, and it's only been 2 weeks. And yeah, so the intro is just usually, well, with my other friend Amy, just the same kind of like complete.
Oh, we're on.
I know. Hello, we're on. And I don't know how to like. This is all brand new, so I don't know how to. People that are joining right now, I don't know how to make it just you and I, Amy. Unless it goes. I think it on the. Okay, here we go. Maybe that'll just work. So I think when I put it in speaker mode, it's going to be anytime you talk, it's just the camera on you, and anytime I talk, the camera's just on me. So
okay.
So you can do all sorts of funny faces when I'm talking, so that nobody sees what's going on. Okay, so I guess we could do, even though we're already live, so welcome everybody to this crazy misadventure of the Leslie and Amy show.
Hello.
And so this is one of my bestie friends, Amy, one of my favorite people. Amy and I went to high school together, and I brought this lovely Amy.
You did it!
Activity council, my jacket from when I was a dorky student council person. So I'm
Lancers!
A bit of a hoarder. Go Lancers!
Go Lancers!
A hoarder. I probably have got so many different things, the Lancer memorabilia in a box somewhere, because I'm kind of a dork and I kind of keep all those things. But
I have a yearbook, I think, and I don't even think it's mine.
Oh my word! I've got all the yearbooks.
I have my grade 13 yearbook, but it's Kathy Wells's yearbook. I guess, I don't know, maybe she has mine, but I think the rest are at my mom's. I know I had them all at one point, so.
So all of the signs are like, "Hey, Kathy, we're a great friend."
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. Well, we know it's going to be fun. You and I always have a good time together.
We do.
Introduce you and do it formal. So
okay.
Anyone who doesn't know me already, I'm Leslie Hughes, principal of Punch Media, and I am so excited to bring on my great friend, Amy Ruddell. So Amy is the vice president of McGregor Communications. And so I've known Amy since high school, as if you couldn't tell already, from just us goofing around in the beginning. And Amy has honestly the most fun conferences, and you run 8 conferences, is that right?
Yeah, this year it's 8.
8 conferences for the project managers, business analysts in the U.S. and Canada. So there's the Global Virtual Conference that you're running.
Yes, that's our next one.
Orlando, Boston, Washington, Vancouver, Chicago, and Toronto. So, and also your administrative professionals conferences.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we have fun. There's a whole bunch of great people that I've met through Amy, Hans, and AJ, and Greg Brown. And I mean, you have such great speakers that have now turned into friends, a lot of them, because they're just an amazing crew. So that's why I asked you to come and talk, because I know there's a lot of people out there that are looking to sort of up-level themselves to become a speaker, and It's terrifying. It's terrifying. So I wanted to talk a little bit about that because, as I said, like, I keep thinking about our conversation that we had with Hans a few weeks ago, because we basically talked about the exact same subject, which was, that fear of like the first time you went out there. Like, what was that like for you insofar as like the first time you had to do a conference and go up on stage? Because you're talking to like some of the smaller ones aren't so big, but your big one in Toronto has how many people?
Oh gosh, it's ranged from 700, 800 to 1,300 people. Yeah, and actually,
you're so fun. You just get up and you're like, "Hey!"
It wasn't always like that, Leslie. It didn't start like that. That's been learned over like the years, and being on stage at so many events so many times a year. you just become more and more comfortable. I'm still not 100% comfortable with it at all. I still get very, very nervous, especially kickoff day, getting on there, because, you know, I'm sort of the first person on stage, and I really want to bring the energy and set the tone. I'm never up there for too long. My sort of mantra is, no one wants to hear from me. Get on, get off, but make sure you bring the energy, so it sets the mood and gets everyone all stoked. But the very first time I did it was Project World Toronto. David Barrett was with the company then, and it was him and I on stage. It was one of the largest events we've ever had in Toronto. And gosh, I don't know how many people were in the audience. I'm tempted to say anywhere between 12 and 1,500. It was huge. It was
crazy.
massive. And it was terrifying. Yeah. Absolutely terrifying. Yeah, I didn't do much. He, like, you know, David was is a showman, and I'm just like, yes, that's right, David. We have a jam-packed day of education and networking for everyone. And, you know, flash forward, I've been there, gosh, that was 14 years ago.
Oh, my word.
And now I sort of bring my own style to it. And like I said, I really focus on, you know, just getting people connected, kicking off the event by, you know, getting people up and doing, you know, networking exercises, running around table to table, hello, hello, hello. And yeah, and then getting the hell out of Dodge and letting the keynote come on, and back on at the end of the day, do a little shit.
Well, but you're so good, because you've invited me to speak in various conferences, and I know that you're usually at the front desk, and then if someone's new, you're like, come on, I'm going to introduce you to so-and-so, and you're always so good about making people feel included in those conferences, because I mean, how many conferences have we attended, and you walk in, you feel like you're in grade 9 all over again, and you're sort of like, I don't have any friends, nobody likes me, and so you come in as like this like social convener of like as if there's like a crown and a scepter of like, I will introduce you to so and so.
No.
You know, like, I mean, not done in a princessy kind of way, but like it's just it's so nice because you're so approachable, and your goal is to make everybody feel comfortable, even in a huge crowd of like thousands of people. So
well, that's what I think is paramount, and maybe that's what sets our events, because, you know, people obviously they're there for the education, right? But you want to separate yourself from the pack. You just don't want, I don't want our events to just be boring old, like, you know, man, take some notes. Yeah. You want people, the more people become engaged with each other, the better time they're going to have, the more they're going to learn, because they're having fun. So they're not only learning from whoever's speaking, keynotes, tracks, workshops, what have you. They're learning from each other, and sometimes that's where the most important information and comes from your peers and from your colleagues. So I don't want to take credit and say it's just me. I mean, I have a fantastic group of advisory boards in each and every city we run the event in, and they're, you know, really engaged with the BM with the BM or PM communities in their area, and so they're always involved too. So, you know, when we're busy in the mornings and people are coming in, and we do like to greet them all individually, be like, oh, have you met Steve Jones? He's on the advisory board, he's part of the IIBA, and, you know, Steve will pick it up and, you know, continue the conversation and get people included and invite them to sit with them, and just to make it an experience, a really nice, comfortable, pleasant, hopefully really fun experience.
Yeah. And you seem to have like almost like a tribe of speakers that, you know, they come up with different ideas and different like talks all the time. Yeah. But it kind of, in a way, probably is like there's a comfortability level of people then re-seeing some of those speakers again, like, you know, so that it's like, oh, I've seen Hans before, I've seen AJ before, and so because we're all, you know, we're all lunatics. I mean, we're all like, oh, let's join us, come on, let's go have some fun together. Like, we're all like inviting people, and so like the speakers end up going out for dinner, and people are coming along with us and stuff like that. So, yeah, like it's, and I can't say that that's like that for most conferences. I'm sure we've been to a lot of conferences where it's sort of like get in and get out. So when you're choosing some of the speakers, and some of them are brand new, when I think speaking at your conferences certainly have been some of the bigger ones that I've presented at, and I'm not at the key level. I mean, I have done keynote stuff for some organizations, but I'm not for that because it's a different thing altogether. So let me just back up because I'm already going down the rabbit hole. So when you're choosing, when you're deciding on someone, when someone submits their proposal to speak, what are some of the things that you're looking for? Not just obviously the topics, but are there ways that you can decide on, how do you decide on who's a good speaker?
Okay, so there's two different types of speakers that I hire. There's the keynote level, and then there's our symposium speakers and workshop presenters. And as you said, we do send out a call for presenters or for speakers. A lot of the names I recognize on there, and many I don't. And like you said earlier, we do feature some of the same speakers, like Hans, Jen Batten, Vince Mirabelli. Quite often you'll see them on every program, and that is because they're our top rated. Those are people want to see them.
Right.
The reason why is because they're very polished speakers, but they're really relevant. They're always changing up their material. You're not going to see them present the same thing year after year after year after year. They're recognized as thought leaders within their communities. Jamie Champagne's another one. Adrian Reed in the UK. You know, I don't want to leave anyone out, but
I know,
you know,
so many good speakers.
You know, Bob Prentice was our most popular speaker, bar none. Not just for the project management business analysis crowd, but also with APC. And why? Because they're so engaging, they're so charismatic, and they come from an authentic place. They're there. They want to share their knowledge with you. They want you to be better at what you do. They're invested in that, but of no interest to their own. It's not like, you know, they're selling training programs or doing this or that. They love what they do, and they're good at it, and they want to share those skills with others. So, I mean, I can't even say 20 to 40 people that, you know, we know are going to knock it out of the park. But again, I also want to make the events a platform for people who are just starting out as well. Or, you know, that's sort of becoming more involved in the speaking circle, is on their career trajectory. And most often they're people who have attended the events before and have watched other people and like, hey, I want to do that. I've got a story to tell. I've got skills that I can share, things like that. So, you know, it's based on how I pick them. It's based on the topic that they're proposing, the abstract, how it's written, how it's constructed, if it looks like it's going to be fun, if it looks like it's going to be something that's going to capture people's attention. Also, back to the advisory boards, I throw everything by my advisory boards, like all the proposals, and allow them to vet them, because what's of interest to the BA community in, say, Vancouver may be, you know, something that the Boston group are saying, oh, you know what, enough. If I hear like someone's use the word agile one more time, I'm going to lose the plot. And that's never been said, but you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, absolutely.
It changes in the different communities, and it depends how robust those communities are, the chapters are in each city. So it's based on that. And so they're really helpful too. And plus, feet on the ground, right? They can see someone say, hey, you may have never heard of this person before, but he spoke at our IIBA chapter meeting and he was amazing. So, you know, you have your trusted advisors in the pockets all over the countries to sort of help you with that. So it's not me. It's like, it's a real team effort. Yeah. It really, really is.
And I would assume that, like, to your point, when the attendees go to the events and they see everybody having so much fun, it's certainly less intimidating to say, you know, I think I could share my knowledge with, you know, a breakout session of 25 to 50 people. And that's like a good start to sort of get someone out of their comfort zone. You know, I mean, anybody who knows me, I'm a chatty girl, and I was terrified the first time I ever did a presentation in front of 10 people. I was like, so let me tell you a little bit about digital marketing, and I was freaking out and so nervous. And then I realized, you know, to your point, like the best speakers get out of their own way, and they have fun with it, and they focus on the content, and they focus on the audience, and they make sure that what they're delivering is of value, and that people are feel. I mean, one thing that I think every time I've been to your conference is that the speakers welcome participation, because it's not just about the person in the front of the room. It's like, how can we share from each other?
Yeah.
How can we sort of like, you know, hold hands and sing kumbaya, and it's all like this collaboration.
Yeah.
And so having said that, you've had also the most amazing keynote speakers, from Pinball Clement. I mean, can you think of the top of your head who like wowed you the most, from like Colin and Justin and Jan Arden and Piper Kerman and I know I'm just gonna keep saying so. And then Joel Cohen from The Simpsons. That one like he cracked me up. Joel Cohen was so
he was awesome.
So who are some of your favorite speakers that you, and why are they your favorite keynote speakers?
Oh gosh. I can't pick favorites.
I know, there's so many good ones.
Favorites.
Yeah.
I mean, different people for different reasons. One of the people who really, really impressed me was for my administrative professionals conference, and that was Jan Arden.
Yeah.
What you see is what you get with her. She is completely authentic. She was an absolute delight to work with. She even, you know, did some marketing stuff for us beforehand on her own time.
Wow.
She just happened to be in Toronto. I think she's from Calgary. And I booked her through Speaker Spotlight and asked them, you know, would she be willing to do something like that? Would she? Yeah, absolutely. And she's going to be in Toronto in a couple of days. So you can go down to the hotel. She'll meet you in the bar.
Yeah.
And banged out a bunch of like, you know, great little marketing commercials that we could, you know, use throughout the campaign.
Yeah.
What I liked about her is that she doesn't talk about all the things that she accomplished to, you know, to get the level of success that she has. She talked about all the ways she screwed up.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, you know, and bad decisions that she made and wrong choices. And I'm not saying not anything horrible, but just put her down a different road, but that road led her to where she is.
Yeah.
So it was sort of like, I mean, what she's essentially saying is it's okay to make mistakes, and we are going to make the wrong choices that might seem like the wrong choices at the time, but ultimately are the choices that are going to thrust you and bring you up to the place where you want to be and ultimately should be. So I really liked the message in that. Plus she was just, you know, tons of fun.
I mean, I've never met her, but just off the cuff, she just is a funny person. She just is very quick.
Oh, she's hysterical.
So funny. Yeah, like so genuine. Like Eva was saying, she's just so genuine. I mean, I've never met her, so you were saying she's the real thing in person, which is.
Oh no, I've had people that you know that you've seen on TV, and or what have you, who they're someone else on stage. They're different, and after, no, I can't.
No.
I'm not saying anyone was a real jerk or anything. Like that's happened a handful of times in my entire career.
Yeah.
But like you said, Colin and Justin.
Amazing. I mean, it's funny because, I mean, we talked about this. I had heard from someone else, oh, they're so snobby. They could not have been more fun, like more approachable, nice. They wanted to talk to everybody. They hung out with us afterwards. I felt like, look at us. We're hanging out with Colin and Justin. It was so much fun. And, and I find, you're right, like the speakers that, you know, they genuinely are coming from a place of, they'll stick around afterwards. It's not like, oh, this is I'm so important and you can't, I'm the untouchable, but they actually stick around till every single person has had their hand, you know, had their photo taken, or
had their photo taken, had their chat and stuff. You know, who was really good with that? We had a couple of years ago was Margaret Trudeau.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. She came in and spoke to, it was the APC crowd as well. And she talked about mental wellness. And I don't think there was, sometimes people like, you know, book it because they, you know, want to get their GO train or get home or whatever. I think every single person at that event, and there was probably close to 600, were in line to meet her. And it went an hour over what it was supposed to, her meet and greet session. And she stayed until the very last person and was very, very, just lovely. Just a lovely, lovely person. You know, I think I can't really think of an experience where someone wasn't.
Right.
You know, I mean, when I book keynote speakers and they're people who, are in the public eye. Generally, I use a speakers bureau for that. I work with two pretty much exclusively, big idea speakers and Speaker Spotlight, Martin Perlmutter and his wife Fair. I've been working with them since I started my career off in, God, 97. And I think they had just launched Speaker Spotlight then. And I trust implicitly.
Would they sort of tell you, like, you know what, this one isn't going to be, this
Yeah.
one's a good speaker, but maybe not the most.
No, and that's happened. There's been a couple of times where I've said I was thinking about this, and he goes, you know what? I'm not sure if they would be a great fit for this group. They're a great speaker, and they have great, great information, but I think you might want to look in this direction or try this person. And they always have like great forums and things where they feature their speakers, so you can, either go to a workshop there, or they'll do virtual things where you can sort of get a little taste of what their keynote's going to be. David Usher, I booked through there. David Usher.
He's really good too.
Yeah, he was great. So that's a total horse of a different color though, from booking symposium and workshops.
Well, do you have any tips on how, because you've helped some people. Bob Prentice is one of them, because I've seen him in workshops. Actually, this is just, people who are speakers and have been to your conferences know exactly when we talk about Bob Prentice, who, we sadly lost him not that long ago, and he's your very, very best friend, and that's sad. For all of us, but having to present in a room next to Bob was almost impossible, because he not only commanded his huge presence, and of course you're thinking like everyone's going to show up to my workshop. No, they're over in Bob's, because he was like a larger than life personality, and then he's singing, and the singing that he's doing, and everybody's laughing and everybody's having a great time, and you're sort of sitting there going, sorry guys, my presentation isn't quite as fun as Bob. Hans and I were sort of next door going, I know you guys want to be over there, but we're going to try and have fun over here. So you helped Bob level up too. Was it part of your coaching with him? Because I know he did a keynote. I think, wasn't it already? Was he already a keynote? Had he already done keynotes before? Was it APC? Because I saw you guys had this fun little video.
Oh yeah, that was we would do that for Project Bob. Originally was he was a BA. He was a consultant. Yeah. I think that's how he started. I met him at our Chicago event. 8 years ago, 9 years ago. Yeah. Bob just had that. He had, and other people too. A Hans, for example, or I'm just trying to think of some of the people we've had that have gone from Jimmy Goddard, Sabby. Gosh, I'm trying to think of Jamie.
They've all done keynotes?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. You know what? I really base it. I can tell. You can tell when someone has it. And you have to have, when you're doing a keynote, it's not like doing a track session in that, you're not delving into a specific topic. You're not going to be talking about requirements gathering. You're not going to be talking about, it has to be very broad. It has to be something that's applicable for others, especially in the Project World BA World events, where you have like both disciplines in the audience and other people who don't fall under that exact job title. So you want to have something that's going to be relevant to everybody in the room. Mm-hmm. And you have to have that charisma to hold people's attention and to keep them engaged. So it's, a lot of energy. That's probably one of the most important things, is bringing that.
Because it's so much harder, I would assume, like having not, and you have been on those big stages, even just introducing them. There's a whole level, like standing in front of 25 or 30 people or whatever is a whole lot different than standing in front of 1,000 people on a stage, where you don't necessarily get that interactivity. You don't get them, people aren't necessarily, you can see people sort of like nodding or whatever, but it's not as intimate. It's very, it's scary. It's scary. I almost always fall. Almost every time I've got the headgear on, and I'm like, oh, hi, everybody. And then and then I feel like, oh, people are like, who's this ding dong? But yeah. So,
what I find though? I find I think a big mistake that a lot of speakers make when they sort of progress up to, and I'm not saying at my events, I've seen this at other ones as well, is that, when you're doing like symposium sessions or breakouts or workshops, and, and people love you, and you like your evaluations are off the chart and things like that. And it's like, okay, now it's my opportunity. I'm getting on the big stage, as you call it, people tend to take themselves a little bit more seriously then. And when you do that, and I'm not saying that you shouldn't, but you lose what it was that people loved about you, the spontaneity and things. And I've seen people sort of really gear away from what it was that made that people filled their room. And, being spunky, being sassy, being a little bit, over the top, singing, doing whatever.
Yeah.
And the thing is, that's what people love. And that's, there's not a mold that you need to fit into to be a keynote speaker. You don't need to be all serious. You don't have to wax poetic and quote whoever. You just be authentic to yourself.
Yeah.
And
I've studied
that's the biggest mistake I think that I see people make when they move into keynotes.
Is just they start to get smaller, or they start to take themselves more seriously. That's the biggest
mistake. I think that they lose. I don't know. They just take themselves a little bit too. They lose their. I don't want. It's not always fun. It's just there's an energy that they bring that you figure, okay, well now I have to be, a little bit. I have to be more professional. I have to be more focused. I have to be, really, you don't have to be that. You just have to stay true. To what made you good.
Right. And I guess there's like a fine line too, Amy, like with some of those ones. And there's some people that I've seen on multiple different keynotes, and that they're going to say the same thing over and again, because it is, the whole, it's like a stand-up comedian. That's where I was going to go next. It's like you see comedians and you think, oh, those stand-up comics are just so funny. They're off, they just off the cuff, and they just come up with these things. And that is finely crafted, and how they pause, and how they take a beat, and what works and what doesn't work. I mean, from what I understand, and I've watched, like, Jerry Seinfeld still goes out, before COVID, but still goes out to comedy shows and actually, does a little bit here and there just to see if he's still, still funny. Is it still resonating with like a smaller crowd as opposed to sort of going on live? And so I guess there is kind of a fine balance, because I see some of those keynotes that I've seen more than once, and you kind of see that they get into a groove in a way that almost becomes, again, less authentic, because it's
expected.
Yeah,
I know. I know what you mean. Comparing it to a comedian is excellent, because I remember going to see, I can't remember who it was, and seeing them again. Someone said, oh, I have tickets. Do you want to go? And it's so rehearsed and so well timed, and that it's. But the first time you see it, you think, oh, wow, look at that. Go. But it's so. Yeah, it's very practiced.
Right. Because I think at the end of the day, everybody wants to be entertained. I mean, you can have somebody who has so much great information. And we've seen this, back in high school even. You have those teachers who are probably really smart, but they deliver like, hello.
Exactly.
Today we're going to be talking about blah, blah, blah. And you're like, just kill me now. This is going to be a long class, right?
Yeah.
And so you have to kind of, and the one thing I think I was told by somebody years ago was in public relations, and she said, like, be bigger. And I was like, I'm already, like, I'm short in stature, but I'm chatty. But I think I have sort of had to get out of my own way and be even sillier than I usually am, and be kind of goofier than I usually am, which I'm kind of like, I kind of am. I mean, you know me. I'm kind of myself anyway. So, but to recognize that I have to bring, even if I'm not feeling 100%, to bring it and be here and be a little bit louder and be a little bit, because that's what people really want to see.
Yeah, but people are going to respond to that, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, like, I think my next question was sort of like having the one thing, the reason why I started doing these sort of chats was because I just find there's so many people that don't really stand in their value. And that's like, it's something that we're all trying to figure out. And so many of our friends that have got their own little shows, we've been talking about, just learned, I think it was on Vince Mirabelli's show, about this Dunning-Kruger effect. I didn't even know there was a name.
Oh, yeah.
Imposter syndrome. And I was like, Freddy Krueger? What kind of? I don't want the Freddy Krueger effect.
I don't want that.
So do you have any tips for people that want to do speaking? We sort of alluded to it already, but just like how they can get out of their own way and sort of take that next step of maybe submitting a proposal to speak.
Yeah, for sure. I think that first and foremost, speak to what you know. If this is something that you want to do, if you want to speak at a conference, find out what you're passionate about, because chances are that's what you're really good at.
Yeah.
and follow that. You know, I've been working on a particular, I'll probably do a talk in the fall, maybe not. I keep saying maybe.
Really? Oh my gosh, I'd love to see you.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I'll see that. But see, I keep talking myself out of it. And I'm sure that's what a lot of people, I'm like, oh, what can I really, you know, what can I share? What can I tell and stuff? And then, you know, I start to structure it in my head and I was like, you know, that wouldn't actually be that bad.
Yeah.
But so it is. It's like, it's getting out of your own way. It's no, like, I know what I'm good at. You know what you're good at. We know what our strengths are. It's funny because you'll probably let someone else tell you what they are, like your friends or colleagues, before you'll actually, you know, come out and say what you're good at, right? You know,
it's hard. It's hard. And I say this all the time. It's like when you're inside the jar, you can't see the label, right? So we're so busy being inside of our jar and thinking like, well, everybody can do it. Like you going like, well, everybody can stand up and talk in front of 1,000 people because you've been able to introduce people and you have so much fun when you're doing it and you're out there introducing other people. An introvert would be like, that would be my worst nightmare. Like,
well, it was mine at one point too.
Yeah.
It just takes practice. But if someone like, you know, and it doesn't even have to start off at a conference. Like if a person's really interested and they've structured a really good presentation, which, you know, you should be running by your colleagues, you should be, you know, running by your friends and, you know, getting critiques and taking those well. You know, that's another thing. There's, you know, is accepting, you know, I don't want to call it criticism because that just sounds like it's like, but, you know, feedback.
Right? Yeah, constructive feedback.
Help. That sort of thing. Yeah. Then, I mean, there's like, depending on where you live, there's so many people who are looking for speakers. My very first job was with the Chamber of Commerce. We were always looking for people to come in and do like, you know, breakfast sessions, lunch and learns, lunch things, you know, after hours stuff. Like there's people want new, fresh faces and things like that. So there's all sorts of places where people can speak, even in your own corporations. Have a lunch and learn with some of your colleagues. If you're speaking about it's more technical skills, if you're a business analyst and, you know, you've learned how to, I'm not sure, I'll have to start using VA jargon. And but you know what I mean? And getting out there and practicing, the more and more you do it, the better and better you're going to get.
Well, I think the spirit is too. Like I was even nervous coming to talk to you today. I mean, we talk like all the time, but yet I was worried about like all the, you know, the technical stuff working.
Yeah.
Am I going to be, you know, and so I think you and I both have said this before, is like we try to reframe the nervousness and turn it into excitement too, because it doesn't matter how many times we present. And I think every speaker said the same thing. Every single time we're terrified that we're going to blow it. And every time I finish, I go, God, why did I talk like that? Why did I talk too much? I talk too fast. I'm annoying. Why does anybody even listen to me? And I'm beating myself up, realizing that, you know, it's really, you know, I'm not coming across the same way that my little, like the squirrel in my brain is running around. Going like, you're not enough. People hate you.
I saw someone ask a question about overcoming nerves or something in there.
Yeah, and so Eva, I used to work with Eva at Wedding Bells, and so she's now a professor at, I believe, Sheridan. So her question is, how do we get past the nerves of overwhelm when speaking to a large group? Well, I know Eva, actually it was Eva that inspired me to become a professor. So, yeah, her background was, she was the art director at Wedding Bells when I used to work there in the 90s, and now she's a professor at Sheridan. And so, yeah, so, I mean, she's already speaking in front of people. So, you know, it's just, you know, like the large group. Do you think that there's like, because is there a big chasm between like speaking, like you said, like speaking to that small group, it's a little bit more interactive and it's a little bit more intimate. Is there a level between like breakout keynotes or breakout sessions like the workshops and then the keynote, or is it sort of like just one and the other? I mean, I don't know.
Oh gosh. Well, yeah. I mean, obviously being in a room with like, you know, 1,000 faces looking back at you is just a tad more intimidating than being in a room with 70 people. You know, the one thing I would drill is just be prepared. Know your stuff. The times that I really like, I won't say kill it on stage, but I know I do well is when I know what I'm going to say. I don't walk out with notes anymore. I don't do that. I might throw, you know, something on the podium. I never carry it in case I do get nervous and I'm doing this, which has happened, and it's been captured on video, and that's really nice to look at afterwards. But you just write a couple of key points of what you want to hit, stroll over, take a look at it. But is just to really know what you want to say, when you want to say it, so you're comfortable with that. You're not like, oh, and if you're doing something with PowerPoint, that always helps too, right? To keep yourself on track. And I always find with my deep breathing exercises beforehand, getting into my Zen space, that always helps. It really, really honestly does.
Yeah.
But the nerves should be there. The nerves mean you care.
That's true.
If that means you're excited. It means you want to do a good job. You want to, you want to impress people, and you want to impart what you have to share with them. So that's, you should always be nervous. When you stop being nervous, you probably are like, oh yeah, all right. Hey everyone, welcome. Yeah.
Just
I see Carol Rayburn is on here. Hi, Carol.
Hey, Carol.
Yay, hello, Carol. Carol, I met at our APC conference many years ago.
I see this a lot. Your APC conferences are off the charts. So much fun. Your advisory board, the people that attend. I mean, so inclusive, so fun. I mean, it's even more so, I think, than some of your other conferences. And actually, after I asked you the question of like, how do you ladder up between sort of doing the workshop versus the keynote, maybe it's a small keynote. Because like some of your other conferences around, like I've been to your Washington conference and the APC in Vancouver, and well, APC in Vancouver was big, but it wasn't your Toronto event.
Well, that's because it was the first time event, Leslie. It was
I know.
Hello.
It was really well attended though, and
yeah, it was.
Yeah, the speakers were really good for that as well. But let's just say like Washington was far more intimate. Like it was a little smaller.
Oh yeah, there's smaller events. Those are the babies, the baby events. They're the newer ones. So Orlando being the most recent one, although Orlando did exceptionally well its very first year, far better than a launch does. I think a lot of it has to do with the community out there and that it's Orlando.
Yeah.
Great, and people want to combine it with a vacation. I think that's great. The Orlando event's different than any other event we run, actually. Has a way different feel. What's that?
I want to go to there. I
want to go to that place.
I want to go to the Orlando one.
The Orlando one is fun because you have people coming from, like, only probably 30% of the attendees, if not less, are from within state. Everybody else is from, you name it, across Canada, the US. We had someone, oh my gosh, we had a couple of guys our first year there, our second year there, from Saudi Arabia, from Australia. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Wow,
and
awesome.
Because it's like at a resort where, it's not at a convention center or at a hotel in like a downtown metropolis.
Okay.
Most everyone's staying at the hotel.
Okay. So
not only, are you with people during the day at the conference and during lunch and the networking reception, but there's a real sort of after event scene too, whether that be, at the pool bar in the restaurant, something, or people making plans to go to Epcot Center to see Rick Springfield. We tapped into on the air. It did. I didn't get to go when I saw Rick Springfield, but so that's where we kind of coined the term camp. We started calling the events like camp because you're with everybody for 3 days.
Yeah, having said that, though, I was just thinking, like, in my head, having not attended the Orlando one, but I did speak in Santa Monica a few years ago with a DigiMarcom, and I remember thinking, like, and it was like this beautiful, like, hotel, and I was like, I want to sit out by the pool, but I don't want people to see me in my bathing suit after they've seen me speak. It's like.
Yeah, well, it's not like it's not like, like a twist 'em by the pool video with all the attendees after. Oh, pass the beach ball here. No, because I would be terrified. I remember I went into the Orlando event early, and I was like a couple days early, and I was down by the pool, and it's like, I don't want anyone to see. I don't want anyone to see me in my bathing suit, let alone people who are attending my event. Oh, hey, over here. But yeah, no. So, anyways, to get back to what you were saying, we both went down the rabbit hole there.
I know. Typical with us.
Yeah, there are smaller events. The newer events tend to be, usually, I think 200 minimum, and it goes up from there.
Yeah.
It depends. It's this year we're going to be able to run in person, and it's looking better just with the vaccine rollout, although I had a very angering experience today with it that has to do with my mother, but we won't talk about that. But they're saying by July,
fingers crossed.
But you don't know for sure. But that's hopeful, because it was looking not so much earlier in the year. So yeah, I really want to get back to in-person events. I miss them. I'm an extrovert, in case you didn't guess. So I like being at the events.
Well, there's a different experience. I mean, you run your virtual events, and it's great. And I kind of like the commute, quite frankly. I'm like,
I love to commute to the virtual event.
Yeah, to the virtual event. But I mean, you love flying anyway. I mean, you're like, I can't wait to be back, right? Didn't you say that? Or do you just like to be?
I hate flying. I'm terrified of flying.
Oh.
But
yeah, you do it all the time.
Yeah, I actually am not as bad as I used to be. I used to have to medicate myself before I got on a plane. I did, but not anymore.
Yeah.
Not anymore. Like anything, I guess, the more you do it, the easier it gets. Much like speaking.
Much like speaking, just to bring that back. Well,
speaking, I know, because you like full circle.
I know, because we're so clever. So Bob Weiss, who you've met, so Bob, I think, spoke at your APC conference too. So Bob's one of my favorite people too. He's out here in the Durham region. Is he
Bob that I see up on there?
Yeah. So
I thought that was Bob McGregor, my boss, watching, and I was like, isn't he supportive?
Yeah. So Bob Weiss
I really did think it was him.
What's that?
I really did think it was him.
Yeah. And so Bob Weiss is like, what do you think about new speakers having a speaker's reel or a video promo? Do you watch?
Yes. Okay. You want to talk speaker's reel? I'll talk speaker's reel, because I've got some tips and pointers for you, Bob. And anyone else. Biggest mistake people make is making it 2 minutes long.
Okay.
Big long thing. I'm going to, there's going to be this big dramatic intro, and it's going to say, Leslie Hughes, LinkedIn Guru. Leslie Hughes, and it'll show pictures, and it's all very dramatic. And I'm sitting there waiting a minute in to actually see you do your stuff.
Yeah.
Right? You don't need that. People spend a lot of money on speakers reels, and okay, if that's what you want to do, that's fine. I know within 30 seconds of someone's speaker's reel if I will hire them or not.
Mm-hmm.
If I want to use them, you can tell right away. You can see it is captured. I would suggest to people, if for people who are sending things to me, to be mostly, we ask them to fill out the forms and this and that and that. Okay, so that's great. Looks like a great presentation. Mm-hmm. I would say grab your phone and do a 30-second, very quick, for whoever you're applying for. Hi, Amy. I'm Leslie. I just sent you an abstract on, how to harness the power of LinkedIn. Please give it a read. I hope you like it. Just by you doing that, I would be able to tell if you were going to be good or not.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I suggest that people have something like that in their back pocket and send it to the conference director or whoever, wherever you're applying to speak. Mm-hmm. And to make sure that if you do a reel, to get yourself up front showing what you do right off the start.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
We have the same attention span as a goldfish. I don't know if you know that.
Well, yeah.
not you and I, of course. We're so much smarter than that.
Yeah.
But that's the average attention span from what I've read is the same as a goldfish, was about 6 seconds, which is
it's not long, but you can also tell within that time, you really just need to get a gauge of what someone's like. Yeah. I've had people say, I get a lot of cold calls, cold emails saying, are you looking for a keynote speaker for your Washington event? I'm your guy. Click here and watch my video. I'm like, okay. So I do. And then all it is someone talking about him or her, and photos of them on stage. Okay. But I never actually see them speak or hear them. It's just those are really nice pictures, and I see that the audience was there, but I want to see you. I want to hear you. Yeah.
Do you know how many times though, if I've done a keynote or done something big and there's nobody sitting in the front row and the picture is like, looks like I'm just talking to an empty room. I'm like,
no one ever sits in the front row.
I know.
They sit in the front row at APC. Yeah. At APC, they sit in the front row. But most places, yeah, you look at the front and it's like,
well, I think with some of the keynote speakers, let's say like Wayne Lee, you don't want to be picked. You know, like somebody like Wayne Lee who does like the hypnosis or anything like that. You're like, no, don't look at me. I don't want to get picked. I think that's why we're all afraid of sitting in the front row, because you're going to get singled out by the keynote and drawn in.
Or else if you're not digging it, or if you're like, phone rings or something, then you have to get so that's why everyone covets the seats in the back. But they never have to do that in my events because all the speakers are fantastic.
They really are. I mean, I'm not blowing smoke. It's like I really have so much fun. In fact, you know that I come down the days that I'm not speaking because oh my gosh, it's so much fun. And I love to see like so many of the people that you have in your sort of tribe, and your campers that if they're coming from other places, that I'm like, oh my gosh, so and so is in town. I can't wait to see them, and I'll come down just specifically. So what about having a video bio on LinkedIn? Like that kind of is the same idea too, of like doing like the video sort of messaging to you to say, hey, I've just submitted an abstract. So any kind of video, something like somebody talking to the camera, just sort of saying like, hey, I'm Leslie, this is what I do, this is how I help. Like
I think that any platform where you can showcase yourself, that you should absolutely 100%.
Yeah, because it's not easy. I mean, even talking, it's easier because I'm talking with you, but typically if I'm doing a video, I have to look into the camera. And like with my college class, I'm looking into a camera, it's crickets. I mean, I'm always going Bueller, because they're not answering and things like that. So to keep up that energy and to have fun speaking to my college class, or to do a presentation where nobody's responding, and kind of it feels so goofy the first time because like no one is looking. As Eva was saying, like speaking into the void,
like,
talking to nothing, and it's like how do I keep up that energy when you're, for all intents and purposes, talking to nobody, but even though there's no listing and stuff. So it's a lot easier when it's like this, quite frankly, because then you and I can be goofy and we're gonna have a good time no matter who's
we don't know if our jokes flop or not because we can't hear. We can't see people getting up and walking out of the room. Bye.
Yeah. Gosh.
I once had someone write on an evaluation. It was at our Boston event, and this was about 4 years ago. And the Boston event was typically never mine. My colleague Adam ran that when I first started. He had all the US events. I had all the Canadian, and things just sort of have changed since then. And now I have them all. But and then someone else had taken over Boston after Adam, and then it went into someone else's hands. And then I was doing the programming, but another team member went to host it. So I finally do Boston. I'm petrified. These people don't know me. Like, oh my God, they're going to hate me. And that added more nerves, right? Because you think, okay, well, they're probably going to be sitting there like, oh yeah, she's all right. She's no David Barrett, that's for sure. She's no Adam Kahn. And I worry about things like that. I shouldn't.
Right?
And
I always thought, Amy, sorry to cut you off, but like I always think like, weren't we supposed to get over this crap? Like these services things that we were worried about in high school, that you hit a certain age and you're like, oh, I don't care anymore, but we still do.
Oh,
anyway,
yeah.
Go on about Boston. Yeah.
But to make a long story short, I was petrified. And I've been doing Boston now for, I guess, 4 or 5 years. And it's probably one of my favorite events out of the entire portfolio. Just fantastic people there, and I love it. But someone wrote on their evaluation about me. The lady on stage seemed overly excited. So here I am talking about, it's really important to bring your enthusiasm and, get the energy level up. The lady on stage seemed a little over enthusiastic. She needs to take a chill pill.
I got the same feedback.
Oh my God.
I got the same feedback, Amy. The exact same feedback when I spoke to the Editors Conference of Canada. I was going through it, and it's like, oh, great content. And one said she seemed a little manic.
Yeah. You won't concentrate on any of the positive feedback after that. It's all like, I need to take a chill pill.
I know. I suck. Everyone hates me. That one person.
I know. Yeah.
As opposed to like looking at all the great feedback, we're just sort of naturally gravitating towards the person who's
Yeah.
like,
You know, I noticed when we do evaluations, and I think that's a really great way to, like, when you do evaluations on site at the events, people are a lot more forthcoming, especially if they have to write them down. People won't tend to tell you things to their face, and if it's anonymous, even better, they will be. They'll be more honest.
Yeah.
If they can do it, in secret.
Yeah.
But one thing I always watch for, and is and this is just sort of a piece of advice for anyone going to a conference. If you didn't like something, if you had like I don't know, point, like just things that maybe didn't resonate with you, which you didn't really care for, and you want to bring that to the speaker's attention, just be kind.
Yeah.
Be constructive. I've gotten so many where people are just mean.
Yeah.
And that's their problem. They're unhappy, obviously, with something in their life. But what's the point of writing on something that I once had someone write about a speaker, she's a freak. And it's like, well, that's nice. Would you go up to her and tell her that?
Yeah.
Why would you write something like that? It's
and it's not constructive. It's not like, okay, I like this, or maybe she could have done this a little bit better.
Yeah.
Right. So like if someone's going to give feedback, like tell people what you think that they could do to improve, because and like to your point, Amy, not everybody's going to like every speaker out there.
No, it's not. It's very subjective. Who I could think was a fantastic keynote speaker, someone else thought was like, worst thing they'd ever seen. And it happens. It is very, very subjective.
Yeah. Because I don't like every speaker that I've seen either. Sometimes I'm like, oh, yawn or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean,
but other people will be like, oh my God, they were fabulous. So I always have to take things like that into consideration too, right?
Well, I love Brene Brown. I just love her. I don't know if you've ever seen her stuff, but she quotes Teddy Roosevelt's, and I don't know it off by heart, but it's The Man in the Arena. And basically, to paraphrase it, it's like, if you're not in the arena with blood, sweat, and tears fighting the good fight, you can hit the road. You and I would use if we weren't on camera, we'd use other language. But
hit the road.
Hit the road.
That's it.
And I think as a speaker, that's something else that I sort of take to heart too, is that it's a lot easier for people to be an armchair critic, or people that are like in the peanut gallery of being like, I like that person. It's like, well, how many times have you stood up and done this speaker? I'm not saying that I'm better than anybody else, but it's like I would be more likely to trust your opinion, some of the other speakers' opinions on what I can do to improve, as opposed to somebody who's like, oh yeah, like.
Well, it takes it. All the credit to anyone who's like sent in proposals or spoken or what have you, not just at mine or wherever. Like, it takes guts.
Yeah.
It really honestly does. It takes a lot of guts, because what do they say? Next to death, public speaking is everyone's biggest fear.
Yeah.
And so, to get up in front of a room full of, quite often, strangers, right, and deliver that stuff. But, again, like, it goes back to what I said. If it's coming from, if it's authentic and it's coming from a place of service, like, you genuinely want to share this information with people to make them better at what they do. Yeah. And it's not always going to be perfect, and there's always going to be mistakes, but you see them. That doesn't, like, I've so many people go, oh, I screwed that up, and then I did that. It's like, no one notices but you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I found that when I was on the social, when I was in, and I had already been prepared. They gave me the questions ahead of time, and then I went on the show, and I was like I was like an out of body experience. Like, I'm on national television. Oh my gosh. And I thought, oh, I flubbed this and I flubbed that. But then when I look back at it and I realized I knew I flubbed it, but anybody else wouldn't sort of have seen the nuances of going, like, oh, I got that one wrong, or we just talked about that, even though it was in the rehearsal as opposed to live. So
yeah, but you were wearing a fabulous dress, so who cares?
It's pink too. Like,
I know, I remember.
Yeah, so that's all that matters, as long as you look good. Then
that's all.
Do you think, Amy, there's a difference between the U.S. and Canada? Like, I'm always sort of curious about that, because, and that's kind of a tough question. I haven't asked you that before, but just insofar as the, like, the audience, I mean, Canadians have a tendency of being a little bit more, and and I can say this because I'm a Canadian, is we're far more like almost passive aggressive in a way, or like polite. You know, we're always known as being polite, but then there's like sometimes there's like an underlying thing that we're not necessarily saying. Whereas Americans, most of the Americans I know are a little bit more forthright. I guess it depends on the part. I'm so general. Well, okay, so I put you on the spot here, and it's no.
No, I think that people who have been who've done keynotes at all of the events will say that Toronto is the toughest room, and not because the people are tough. It's because it's the largest.
Okay.
It's the biggest event.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's when you're in a big room like that, you could have tables of people laughing hysterically at what you just said. Yeah. But it's not going to register with you on stage. I'm not talking like you're at like the Air Canada Center or somewhere, but you're in a big ballroom. You know, you're not getting the feedback that you would when you're on like in front of a smaller audience, even though like 400 people, 600 people. You know, it's sort of, you see it, you can feel it. But when you're in a big room like that, you don't get the instant sort of hit that, you know, you've delivered that joke or that has resonated or things like that. So they say Toronto's the toughest. And obviously events where, you know, people like Orlando or something where it's a smaller event and people by lunchtime, day one, everyone sort of already kind of knows each other. Like, you know, they've had an opportunity, much more relaxed, they're much more open. But no, do I notice a difference? Not at all. The only time I ever noticed a sort of a cultural difference, I guess, was when I ran the event in Australia. And my very first year there, and it was in Sydney, and I'll never forget it. And I got on stage, I did my usual corny jokes and stuff like, hey everybody, but people are just like this.
Oh my word. Oh, that's terrible. Oh, that's so annoying. Oh,
God. And Nancy, my colleague Nancy, was there with me. She was running the operations for that event, and our keynote speaker is this woman, Roxanne Miller, and they're watching, and they both had to leave because they were so embarrassed for me.
Oh no. Oh.
But here's the thing. They didn't know me. They had never, they didn't know if I was a nice person, if I was a jerk. And maybe it was just early morning, who knows? Because I'll tell you, by the end of that day, it was like the biggest. Australia does networking receptions very differently, by the way. It's not like you get a drink ticket when you book like your thing. It's like all you can drink for an hour. And they just keep bringing it out like champagne, beer, wine. Just keep coming and coming and coming and coming and coming. And it was
like one of our high school parties.
Or I think it was an hour or two. Maybe it was two, minimum two. No one leaves. Everyone stays, and everybody. I'll tell you, it was just like
chug.
Oh, people were singing and doing this, and after that, everyone was like, "Hey!" And I miss desperately doing the events in Australia. Wonderful, wonderful experience being able to do that. Probably a place I would never have gone on my own dime. And I was very fortunate to be able to do that through work and run the Business Analyst World events there for 3 years.
That's cool. I haven't. It's on my wish list. So we've only got a few more minutes, but I'm sort of curious to know, have you guys already been talking from a conference perspective on, and it's still up in the air insofar as vaccinations and whether people will be wearing masks, have you guys been talking about that? Because I mean, there's still a lot of fear.
We talk about nothing but that, Leslie. We have all of our dates. We've had to take, obviously we couldn't run anything in the spring.
Yeah.
So all of our events, for the whole year that are usually divided between spring events, fall events, are now all pushed into the fall. So literally I would probably be going to if everything can go, I'll be going to a different event almost every other week.
Oh my word.
Oh my God, I hope that 2-week quarantine is off. And that's great. You know what? I'm excited about it. I'm happy to do that. And in fact, I've tried to schedule them so I can go straight from Orlando to Washington to make it work. But right now, it's a go. We'll probably be opening up the websites. I'm just working on the content right now for those. So if anyone who's watching is interested in speaking, I haven't done the programs yet. So if you got a little something you want to send my way, please do. But yeah, we're running them all.
That's wild. I don't know how you do it anyway. I mean, there's kind of that, Hans and I will sort of joke a little bit about the fact that you just are like the Energizer Bunny, and I don't know how you do it because you're entertaining people till the wee hours of the night, and then you're up first thing in the morning, and you still got the bright, shiny, and how you do it for like a week straight and don't conk out. I have no.
I am prepping for it now because I know that it's coming. I know that it's coming, and for the past year, I've been like, honestly, it was just like a lump. And then, at the end of January, it was like, oh, there's good news on the horizon. The vaccines are they're coming. They're coming. And then
vaccines are coming.
And so I was like, okay, you know what? It gets me very, it gets me very worked up. And now I'm like, very excited again. I found sort of my, my reason for living is my Project World and BA World events. Maybe so too. But no, it's completely changed my mindset and my mood, and I'm just like I'm excited. I'm looking forward to things.
I know. My saving grace is the fact that you've invited me to play games night with you guys. That's like my favorite thing I look forward to every week. We're not going to get into that. But if anybody wants to check it out, Jackbox TV. We don't make any money from it, but we have.
No, we don't. Hilarious. Joke boat.
Joke boat. Flash. I mean, we get pretty, as you can tell, we have the same kind of sense of humor. So we have so much fun with that Jackbox TV. If anybody else is gonna do it,
it's so much fun. That was like a saving grace through the whole year. Was looking forward to. Well, it used to be Saturdays and then Friday nights. I'm like, it's games night.
I know. Thank goodness. It's like been the one thing that and my painting. Okay. My paint by numbers has sort of kept my sanity as we're sort of, it's been a year.
It's like my recorder playing.
Yes. Are you going to play us?
What was that? Did you say you want me to play you out?
Yes. Well,
I'd be honored to.
I do want people to know how to get in touch with you, and then I'm going to talk about who's next. But play a little a tune for us, Amy.
On my Dollarama $1.75 recorder.
Yes.
That I bought.
Very expensive.
That I taught myself to play.
Yes.
Okay, ready? I'll give you a little taste of something.
Okay. That's amazing, and as I said, like
I know.
That song always reminds me. I'm 5'2", and invariably at any it was the very last song of any dance, and I swear that the Neanderthal in the room, the tallest guy in the room would be, and he's exhausted, so he's like lying on me for like Stairway to Heaven, and I'm like trying to stay.
At least someone asked you to dance.
Well, it didn't happen very often, but when it was usually a very tall, lanky guy, and
No, it is. That was a school dance last song.
Yeah, it always was, and it's one of those things that's imprinted in your entire brain every time I hear that song.
Oh, every time I hear it, it's like, oh my God, I wish Eric Goldsmith would ask me to dance. So gorgeous. Trevor Birmingham's dreamy.
That's when it's so funny. I think we're going to go on because now you and I are going to go down a rabbit hole of talking about high school people, where I was at the Devil's Martini when I was in my 20s or something like that. And I remember I was there with a bunch of girlfriends that didn't go to Agent Corp but had grown up with me in high school. And it was Dominic Palladino and I think Peter Manaki, where they came up and they were like, hey, girls. And I was like this, oh my, like my other girlfriends were like, whatever, guys. Like they just were so used to being
like,
and it was like Brad Pitt himself had walked up. And I know. Oh my God, I can't believe you're talking to me. You were a senior when I was in grade 9.
It still looks good. Okay, how people can get in contact with me?
Yes, how do people get in contact with you, Miss Amy? And there's a couple different websites that they could go to, or just the McGregor website. How do they get in touch with you?
Okay, so there is LinkedIn, obviously. Please connect, and Amy Ruddell, and or email.
Yeah.
Can you throw my email up, or can we?
Sure. Yeah, I'll definitely put it up.
Okay.
Not now.
Everyone's like, I don't want to.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
well, here's my home number. Why don't you just come in?
Just call me.
Just come rat-tat-tatting on the door.
So it's McGregorCommunications.com is your website, right? Is the main
Yes.
one?
Well, the best way is to find me is on pmbaconferences.com.
Okay.
So that's pmbaconferences.com, and there's a contact us, and it has my picture and a direct link to my email on there. Same with the APC website, apccanada.com.
Yeah. Which is that September? Is APC Canada? September? Is that right? September 26th to 29th. Wow.
Right now, that's what we have it as.
So brave. You're so brave.
No, we don't know. We don't know. We're fingers crossed that can run, but again, it's depending on how the vaccine rollout goes.
Yeah.
And how comfortable people will be traveling.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. And congregating together and stuff. So thank you, Miss Amy, for talking with me.
Thank you for having me.
I know. And so this week, actually, one of the things we want to find out, and we're so happy that people had jumped into the conversation. And Andrea, one of my other favorite people that I'm going to speak with, she's taken up crochet, and she tried to start the cello this summer. Wow.
Oh, wow.
That's pretty
impressive. Cello, that is, yeah.
So Amy, we want to hear your thoughts. Like, we want to hear what your favorite key takeaway is, or if you have any suggestions for us, about conferences and things like that. But we'd love to hear from you guys. So whatever channel you're watching this on, please give us a little whoop whoop, a little whoop whoop. And then next week, I'm talking to somebody that I met through you, who's Greg Brown.
Greg Brown.
Greg Brown. Yeah.
Greg Brown. You mean the author of Ready, Set, Change Again? That Greg Brown?
Keynote speaker extraordinaire, Greg Brown, who's also been on The Social, and he's been on
and Global News, and he's soon to be on a reality show.
That's right. Yeah, you did mention that. So we'll be talking with Greg next week, because he's like the change. Like, he gets people to embrace change, which is so hard. Like, change is always really, really hard, and so he's all
and he's about giving you tips and about how to make that easier.
Yeah.
For you, how to navigate that and to build resilience.
Resilience through
change. He's fabulous. He's so much
fun. Personal resilience, and also organization and stuff like that too.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, I know people rally and they love to see him live and stuff like that, because he's got a big personality and he's a lot of fun.
He sure does.
Yeah,
he's great. Oh, that'll be fun. I might tune in for that. Of course, I will tune in for that.
What is that? What do they say? Like, tune in next time for Greg Brown.
Tune in next week when my guest will be Greg Brown.
I think I need your voice to do the voiceover. Like, I'll do like an intro and I'll have like Amy Ruddell's like the soothing.
People will be like, "Who's that dude you got to do the voiceover?" Welcome. Welcome to Leslie's podcast. Does it have a name?
No. I've changed it up every week so far. It's only been 2 weeks, so.
Remember Cynthia Graves had a show on Scarborough Cable 10 when we were in high school?
No.
It was just called The Show.
That's a good name.
I loved the show. The show was like my favorite. The Show. Maybe you should steal it.
I think maybe I should,
Just call it The Show.
Yeah.
Show me.
Go Lancers.
Go Lancers.
Go Lancers. Thank you, Miss Amy.
Thank you.
Love you, girl. Okay.
Okay, I'll talk to you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody. Thank you for watching.